now.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, a place where geeks can come to geek out. As always, I'm PK.
And I'm Bozer.
And I am Sonn Solo.
Always.
He's our special guest this week on 4 Geeks by Geeks. We are so psyched to have you. He is quite the resident expert in what we're talking about all this week, which is Star Wars.
Bum, 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 bum! Sorry.
I love it.
Are you psyched, bro?
I'm pretty geeked. Star Wars is my thing, so like I'm cool with it. I'm geeked.
Then you are the perfect guest for this week. Today what we're going to be talking about is what we love about Star Wars. But before we get into that, make sure that if you are enjoying what you see on this channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to geek out with us all week long, hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's where we're posting things all week long. Little snippets, that's where we have a chance to connect with you, our favorite audience. And we really want to have this be a two-way conversation.
Yes,
So-
and don't forget to hit the bell notification so you can get notifications and never miss another episode.
Also, download the YouTube app. You're going to need it.
Yeah, that's pretty important. If you haven't already had that, So, you kind of give us a little overview, but why do you love Star Wars?
I feel like Star Wars has developed into a point where it's its own universe. And so, preface, back in high school, I would go to school with these 300 to 400 page Star Wars books, and I would read them throughout the entire day. What that speaks for my education, I cannot say, but it was an opportunity for me to escape and kind of get into a universe, into a galaxy far, far away, so to speak, that was not my own. And the way that has developed so far in terms of different parts of the galaxy and different planets and different characters, it attached me very well, and I attached it very well, and so I've read a lot of Star Wars books and the comics and the movies and the games. I'm kind of totally immersed in it because it is my chance to escape reality and become a Jedi or read through the eyes of Han Solo and really just be able to immerse myself in that culture.
I'm getting a little emotional over here. Like, I'm literally like tearing up just thinking of you as a kid needing a place to escape, and like your fandom, your geekdom was that place. And for so many of you watching, I know that is your place too. And so that's why we are so excited about this channel. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to get so right off the bat today.
I was not abused as a kid, but
Right, he had a very well loved childhood.
I just love Star Wars.
But it's so cool. It's just like you don't need some sappy story to need an escape from time to time, and that's just so amazing.
Yeah,
the fact
well, I
that you
appreciate
read books this thick
I'm swearing.
in one day.
I would start it on the ride to school on the bus, and it would be done by the bus ride home, and it was just it was my escape and my my enjoyment. And so here I am, and Star Wars was the first thing I ever got attached to.
Props to you.
I'm a geek like these guys here. I love anime. I love
Video games,
Marvel.
sports.
But like Star Wars was the first thing that I ever got really attached to. So I'm really excited that I get to be here and partake in this with you guys.
Thanks for coming.
And I just want to say, I'm impressed that you can read a 400-page book in a day when I can't even read a 400 book. I don't think I've read a 400-page book.
I think Harry Potter was maybe the only book
Those are some long ones.
that I've read that long.
Do you remember Where's Waldo? That was the longest book I've read in my entire life.
That makes sense.
You
That
skimmed some
explains a
pages.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I skimmed.
I can't.
I was like, there's not a lot of content I need from this. Let's just sit
Where are the
past
pictures
it.
at? Where are the pictures?
Yeah, I think that's why I like mangas and comic books so much, because I need my pictures. Sometimes I still look for Waldo in those mangas.
So you really grew up with Star Wars. So what is it specifically that really geeks you out about the Star Wars universe?
I mean, like I mentioned, it's really just the diversity of the characters and the diversity of the worlds that really just kind of gets you going. I mean, especially the authors that I read back in the day, like they just did such a good job of again painting this picture of this planet with mushrooms going out of the ground that are as tall as skyscrapers, and you know what I mean, these Jedi lightsaber fights that are just very fluidly and very again picturesque in my mind, that just really got me attached to it. I guess it's really the books, but again, it was just a way to escape and bury my face in a book and just and geek out a little bit. I guess I don't know. It's the universe itself that because it's so diverse and so expansive that I can really just keep reading for days and days and watching for days and days.
Now, that does lead me to a really important question. How do you feel now that you know that the books aren't canon anymore?
And he's just gonna Boba Fett himself.
Commits
or
to
Jango
Bookie.
Fett himself, so sorry.
So it makes sense because Disney owns everything.
Give some background on that for those who don't know about the books and the relationship now.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. In 2015, 2016, when George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney, Disney took the initiative to say that all the books, comics, video games, TV shows that I had come to know and love as a very, 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 very passionate geek of Star Wars were no longer canon. All these stories that, again, I immersed myself in day by day just did not matter anymore. And that's what hurt me on a bit of a deeper level than anybody can understand.
Well, they basically said all those hours you put in.
Right. They don't really mean
Pointless.
anything.
I mean, the worlds themselves, like the authors of those books, they still put their heart and soul, and so
Right.
they still exist in your mind. But as far as in the greater Star Wars universe, they don't matter.
Which I think is nice too that Disney has been able to, I guess, pull from some of the content of those books. So people like Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is basically the Commander Spock of Star Wars, this very brilliant strategist, they pulled him into the Star Wars universe. He's one of their better characters that were from the EU extended universe. They were able to pull in. That is a very, very well thought out character. Things like just different aspects of the extended universe that is no longer canon. They've been able to pull from. So I'm okay with that.
Right. Well, like Darth Maul surviving, that's still canon, right?
That is canon. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank God.
Yeah, he's a cool character. So things like that again, they are kind of what make me want to go back in. So like since Disney bought Star Wars, I have read some of the the books. And some of the content that they produced, and again, it's really cool to see that they're pulling from stories from the EU because that's what I've come to know and love, and that's what I immersed myself in as a kid. You know what I mean?
Right. Because they went really in depth with some of these storylines, like you were saying a little bit earlier off camera, that Luke's storyline has completely diverted from what happened in the books to what happens in the movies.
Very much so.
So depressing.
Yeah, I mean, Luke at one point was a loving husband. He was this father of Ben Solo, or Ben Skywalker rather, and he
Wait, pause before you move on. Ben as in Kylo?
No, these are completely different characters.
Oh,
so
he just named him after, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, correct. Okay. That's his master.
I was about to just flip
Ben
out for about
Skywalker.
10
So he had
seconds.
this family. He ventured into the dark side at one point because of just again the imperfection as a human. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's the Skywalker curse. Like all Skywalkers are destined to become Sith.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, he was a Sith Lord at one point. So again, to see them move into this new direction for the characters, it's it's refreshing, but it does kind of pain me a little bit in the sense that either not the characters that I once loved and knew, but it's still a great great universe that I'm still immersing myself in. Regardless.
And it feels like they did kind of like what Marvel did, where they kept certain parts of the story and like ripped it. That way, if you read the books, you'd be like, "Oh, I know what's gonna happen." No, you don't. You have a slight clue, but not the full.
Right, so they weren't limited by having to stick exactly to the books. So for those who read Marvel comics or read the Star Wars series, you had some sense of going to a movie. You had a reason to go and see a whole new story, like the MCU kind of took off.
Right, which is why I'm still okay with it. I mean, again, to see the directions that Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams, it's J.J. Abrams, he's not going to make anything bad, you know what I mean? So it's like, to see the direction that they're going in is really cool, and then we have the producers of Game of Thrones, they're doing their own storyline eventually, so like, there's going to be some cool stuff going down, for sure.
I'm very excited for theirs.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
No, tell me. Oh wait, The Mandalorian.
No, that's John Favreau.
Oh.
Or he's
They're
I'm
doing
just
Knights
pulling
of the
things out of
Old
my butt.
Republic. So the old video game is being turned into a trilogy, right?
And this is talking about, the trilogy of movies, thousands of years before we see in episode 1, this like unexplored
Oh,
content.
that's what I want.
And
Yes.
but the people who made Game of Thrones, which is now the most profitable
yeah.
TV show on the planet, you know what I mean? So
Oh, that's gonna.
that's why I'm okay with some of the
Great.
things that they're doing, you know what I mean? So
Right.
like it's going to be really cool to see those sort of movements.
And then there was who's supposed to be playing. There's like one of the main characters from that. There's already talks about.
Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Maybe. This is all
That's what
speculation.
They want Keanu Reeves to
So
play him.
in the Old Republic, one of the main storylines is a Jedi and Sith called Darth Revan, who was once a Jedi, who saw the fallities and the imperfection of the Jedi, and he moved to the dark side. So he's this very dual, again, just like a regular human. You know what I mean? This very duality of man kind of thing going on, and anybody who's going to slay it is going to be Keanu Reeves. So they're talking about maybe casting Keanu Reeves as this Darth Revan, this duality of a Jedi.
So, real quick, your face tells me you don't like Keanu Reeves,
Oh.
and we're gonna have to box.
Do not like Keanu
He plays
Reeves.
one character, and it's going to be the hard one.
One character.
He plays one role.
For the roles he's played, like in The Matrix and in that one
John Wick.
John Wick.
Perfect.
It works.
Absolutely incredible.
And I don't want to pee on your performance, but it's just like I like versatility. I like to know that a character, an actor, will stretch themselves to do different things. And I know that the industry picks you for a certain reason because you're gonna fit a mold, and I know that's not 100% the actor's fault. But it doesn't make me like watching you anymore. And so when you just said Keanu Reeves, I completely turned off.
Have you seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures? Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey?
Completely different aspect.
Exactly.
Completely different side of Keanu Reeves.
Those are my favorite roles of him.
Have you seen Speed? 1, not 2. He wasn't in Speed 2.
Yes, and 2.
But he wasn't in Speed 2, so don't hold him to Speed 2. He was incredible in Speed.
Imagine him starting out as a good guy, from Bill and Ted, you know what I mean? This
Right.
very lighthearted individual, and he just goes through this journey.
Oh, yeah, this excellent journey.
And then he comes around, as per just normal Star Wars plot, he comes around and he ends up saving the Jedi Order, again, thousands of years before we see anything on Episode 1.
I want him to succeed in this. I really
And he will.
do.
And this is
He
all
will if he
rumored
does.
anyway.
He's not even cast yet, but
yeah, right.
if he does,
But I'm going to cross my fingers that he's too busy with like a John Wick.
5,
By the time that
geez.
comes out, 5.
I don't know how much killing I can take.
But I
on
want to
screen.
do those old nights, like, because in, what was it, Rogue One? When, what's his face? He was blind, and he was like that samurai
forget his
kind of
name, I'll be
character.
honest.
I can't.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry if you're watching, which I know you are. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. But he got me so excited about like the origins of the Jedi Knights. And like almost the Japanese culture kind of influences.
Oh, very much so. I mean, you got to think that George Lucas was way ahead of his time in the sense that what he made the Jedi to stand out to be was, again, these upholders of peace and justice. So very similar to samurai. Samurai were there to balance the scale, so to speak. Knights of the Round Table with the Jedi Council. These are all things that he's taken from that I would love to see them go back on, again, back in the Old Republic when the dark side was at an all-time high. The Jedi were an army back then, and like to see these guys clash would be really, really
It'll be like an
cool.
actual war, which will be
Like
absolutely
thousands
incredible.
of Jedi and thousands of Sith like battling each other on one screen. So like,
With the special effects by the Game of Thrones creators.
well, just the production
please.
value. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this is something I don't think they could have done in the beginning. So I
No.
think this world that he might have created, it wouldn't have translated to screen because I mean that was all claymation in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like just set out to do this now.
and
It's
he
really
knew
come a
that.
long way.
And he knew that. You know what I mean? That's why he made 4, 5, and 6, which he knew were going to be less action intensive. And then he waited for 1, 2, and 3 when he knew that there was going to be the technology
is
to make
insight.
these movies that are going to be brilliant. I mean, you would never be able to see that back in 1977. Like you just wouldn't.
So, what I guess because we've learned a lot. One of the things I want to ask is how much do you know about the Great Jedi?
I know a lot about the Great Jedi. In my opinion, the Force is gray in general. Just kind of like and I guess any type of religion or any type of morality, in the sense that whatever you desire as a human, it's gonna affect how you how you live your life. So the Great Jedi said, okay, we see the benefits of doing certain things on the light side of Force. We see the benefits of doing things on the dark side of the Force, and we're gonna meld them. And so when Luke was building his new Jedi Order, again, in the extended universe after Episode 6, these are the things that he wanted to see. He said, having a family, there's nothing wrong with that. Whereas, again, in Episodes 1, 2, and 3,
That's
forbidden. You know what I mean?
Right.
Attachment is forbidden. But Luke said, he understands as a human that we have to be passionate about things, and we have to be able to have something that we can protect. And so that's where the Great Jedi come into play, where they say, you can have a family, you can go about your business, and we're not going to keep tabs on you. We're not going to steal kids from their homes at infant
Right.
years old.
It sense.
Exactly. So I think the Great Jedi, I think that'd be a really cool, path for them to take in these newer Star Wars movies that we're going to see. What defines the Force, what defines a Jedi, what defines a Sith, what defines how these people are going to use their powers. You know what I mean?
And to define for those the casual observer, the great Jedi, it's not quite the Jedi, it's not quite the Sith, it's just kind of a neutral part.
They have a balance of both.
Which is what the Force wants, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And
very true.
We'll talk more about that
Later this week.
Yes.
because-
Theories. Yes.
because that is something I want to talk about. I've got a lot about how I think that's going to play into the final movie.
Yeah.
And that's always been that was something I was afraid that they were going to abandon when they abandoned the books, was because that was really highly talked about, and the Great Jedi are absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I just love the idea that Star Wars, it started in George Lucas's mind as like just this alternate universe, you know? And in my world, I'd run into like some kids at school, and they're just like doodling, and they're creating these characters. Or I know that there's whole subcultures on Reddit of these people that create these AUs, and you know, in your mind, it might be nothing, but like literally, that could, if you continue to lean into it, that could explode into this huge multi-billion-dollar industry just because somebody had an idea and they put in the work and in the details of creating that.
Yeah, and actually, big shout out to, I think it was George Lucas's wife. She actually saved the series. Had he gone through with the way he wanted to, because they screened it. It was like him. I can't remember. There was a bunch of like big movie directors at the time. Like Steven Spielberg saw like the original screening, and they all said it was gonna like flop. So his wife went back through, or his wife at the time, I don't think they were married anymore, but his wife at the time like went back and like did a bunch of cuts and edits and made it more understandable.
More like palatable to like the average.
And you got to think too. I mean, again, with how times change. Back then, he had a $500,000 budget to work with to make this new franchise that only he had in mind. Like you said, this pipe dream, so to speak, that he had in mind, and he had $500,000 to do it. And here we are, Disney, a multi-billion, almost $1 trillion corporation, now owns Star Wars because of what type of cultural impact it's made on the entire world and in America in general. So like you said, definitely leaning into those fantasies and really kind of developing them. Encourage you guys as watchers to do that, because you get people like me who are going to immerse themselves in that sort of culture.
Right. So we want to hear why you love Star Wars, because I think everybody, whether you love it, hate it, or just are casual about it, everybody has a relationship with Star Wars.
You've heard of it.
Oh, guaranteed.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, at least. But I can promise you at this point, everybody's seen at least one. If not one movie, you've seen one show. If not one show, you've played one game. If not one game, you've seen the lightsabers and you played with them as kids. Star Wars has touched, I think, everybody's lives, almost guaranteed. So tell us about that in the comments. We want to read it. It's always awesome to see how this, which I would say is probably the largest geek community, has impacted
One
you.
of them, yeah, for
Huge.
sure.
And if you are watching, and why this channel was invented was because we wanted a place to geek out with people, and we're all about share your passion no matter what it is. If you're passionate about it, share it, because you don't know what it could be. So on behalf of PK Bozer and Sonn Solo, please just keep geeking out loud with whatever you were cool with.
Never be ashamed of it. Never be ashamed of it. It's part of everybody's life.
It is. Yeah, don't hide in that.
It's not worth it. Life's too short.
Right. But until next time, I'm PK.
I'm Bozer.
Sonn Solo here as a guest feature.
We need a cool thing like
Yeah, I
that.
know. Like, why don't we?
You gotta have an intro. Sonn Solo here.
We need like a Power Ranger. Power Rangers. Yeah, we need like Power Ranger morphings. Yeah.
Yes.
Bozer.
Till next time.
Until next time.
Keep geeking out.